When winter hit the European front, soldiers faced a cruel reality. The enemy wasn't always armed with bullets. It was the cold. Temperatures often plunged below freezing, and the standard-issue military tents, made of thin canvas, did little to hold back the chill. Fires were risky. Smoke or light could expose a camp's location, so warmth had to come from ingenuity, not firewood. Out of this desperation was born one of the most clever, low-tech survival tricks of the entire war, a DIY insulation method that could turn a simple tent into a heat-trapping oven, using nothing more than straw, wool scraps, and sheets of newspaper. This method spread across armies, German, Soviet, British, and American, because it didn't rely on special equipment. Everything needed was already in a soldier's kit or nearby on the battlefield, and the result was astounding. Tents that once leaked cold air and condensation could suddenly hold warmth all night, even when the temperature dropped below zero. Many soldiers carried spare clothing, torn coats, or even damaged blankets. By hanging or pinning these wool pieces inside the tent walls, especially behind where they slept, they added a thermal cushion that absorbed and radiated heat back into the interior. Wool's lanolin manowina oils made it naturally resistant to dampness, which was critical in rainy or snowy conditions. Finally, they lined the inside of the tent walls with newspaper or any available paper. This layer absorbed condensation and stopped the inner insulation from getting wet. When damp, it could be replaced easily, and when dry, it reflected a surprising amount of radiant heat inward, much like a primitive version of today's reflective foil insulation. Together, these layers formed a makeshift three-part system that could raise the interior temperature of a small squad tent by as much as 10 to 15 degrees Celsius or 18 to 27 degrees Fahrenheit, purely from trapped body heat. This canvas oven trick wasn't an official military design at first. It was a product of fieldcraft, the collective ingenuity of soldiers adapting to their environment. Reports from the Eastern Front in 1942 described Soviet troops using grass mats and paper sheaths to line tents, while Allied engineers in Italy and the Ardennes copied similar methods to protect from freezing rain. In the Ardennes forest, American troops in the 101st Airborne famously used straw, stuffed between double tent walls to keep from freezing during the siege of Bastogne. German troops in the same area used discarded wool uniforms and hay-filled sacks hung on tent walls. By layering natural fibers in this way, they created what modern survivalists now call a thermal sandwich, a design still used in Arctic shelters today. It wasn't luxurious, but it worked. Soldiers noted that once the air inside the tent warmed slightly, even from the heat of their bodies, the insulation layers held that warmth for hours. The condensation problem also improved, since the inner paper absorbed moisture rather than letting it freeze on the canvas walls. This wartime trick might seem primitive, but the physics behind it are rock solid. The insulation worked by reducing the three main types of heat loss. Conduction. The straw layer reduced contact between the warm air inside and the cold canvas outside. Convection. The paper layer stopped air currents from circulating and carrying heat away. Radiation. The wool or cloth layer reflected radiant body heat inward instead of letting it escape. In short, the materials worked together to trap warm air, slow airflow, and recycle heat. Soldiers who measured the difference using simple thermometers reported an average of 8 to 10 degrees Celsius warmer temperatures inside than outside, the difference between frostbite and comfort. If you're camping or preparing for emergencies, this WWII method can still outperform many modern tent insulation kits. Here's how to do it. Start with a base tent. Any canvas or nylon tent works, but canvas retains heat better. Add a straw or grass layer between your tent and an inner sheet. You can use a tarp, plastic liner, or old blanket. Don't overpack. The air pockets are what insulate. Attach a wool liner, blanket, poncho, or old coat on the inside walls where you'll sleep. Line the inside with newspaper or cardboard for extra moisture control and radiant heat. In freezing conditions, even 1 or 2 layers can dramatically boost warmth without a heater. This technique is quiet, safe, and entirely smoke-free, ideal for stealth camping or power-out emergencies. The soldiers who discovered this weren't engineers or scientists, just cold, tired men forced to innovate. Yet their simple insulation system used the same thermal principles found in modern expedition gear and home insulation. It's a humbling reminder that high-tech isn't always better. With a few scraps of straw, paper, and wool, WWII soldiers turned a flimsy canvas shelter into a life-saving furnace. So the next time you step into a freezing tent, remember this wartime wisdom. Warmth doesn't come from gadgets. It comes from knowing how to use what's already around you. If you enjoy rediscovering lost survival science and forgotten fieldcraft, subscribe to Strange History. We bring back the practical genius of the past, one wartime secret at a time.